Despite it looking as if Britain would vote to remain in the European Union, the Leave campaign wins the 2016 referendum and Brexit is born. A day later, the Prime Minister who called the vote, David Cameron, resigns on the steps of Downing Street. Home Secretary Theresa May wins the Conservative Party leadership in July and becomes the Brexit Prime Minister. In her first major speech on the issue, May rules out future membership of the EU Customs Union, a stance that becomes known as a hard Brexit. On the 29th of March, May triggers Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, kick-starting a 2-year countdown to the UK leaving the Union. She later calls a snap election, a decision that backfires as she loses her governing majority. By December, there's a deal on the table for a so-called divorce bill. 6 months later, it becomes law. But at May's country retreat of Chequers, it becomes clear there's no cabinet agreement for Brexit negotiations. Brexit Secretary David Davis resigns in July 2018, followed by Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, who describes the deal as a suicide vest. The issue of the Northern Ireland backstop emerges as a major problem, the safety net designed to avoid a hard border between the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland. Come 2019, May attempts to get her deal ratified by MPs, but she suffers the heaviest defeat in modern parliamentary history and loses a second meaningful vote 2 months later. In April, the UK's deadline for leaving the EU is pushed back to the end of October. Theresa May announces she'll step down in June. By late July, British MPs have another Brexit Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. But in September, MPs back a bill that blocks a no-deal Brexit by October 31st. Johnson is forced to ask the EU for another 3-month extension. This means he can call an election, which leads to an 80-seat majority for his party. Boris Johnson becomes a Prime Minister with a real mandate, 1,317 days after David Cameron had resigned.
Well, for more now, I'm joined by our correspondent, Iolo Dafydd, who's at Westminster in London. Hi, Iolo. So a momentous day for the UK. Some doubted whether or not Brexit would happen at all. What's the mood there right now and what's happening in London?
Many people doubted whether it would happen at all, and for today, Brexit Day, for lots of people in Parliament Square behind me, it's a day of celebration. They're very, very happy. They've come here with their Union Jacks. Some people have been chanting and singing. Very, very happy. For other people, it's a day of profound regret. And I think that reflects the kind of divisions that we've seen politically and socially in Britain over the last 3.5 years. Now, this change, make no mistake, is the biggest change in Britain since the Second World War. It will definitely herald a new start for Britain, which is why Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called for that and said that this is what he expects that will happen, but only after this transition period. Materialistically, practically, many things won't change at all for the next 11 months, and then those trade negotiations will kick in probably from March, and they will try and get a proper, comprehensive trade agreement all done by the end of December, because Boris Johnson and the government has been clear enough and said they will not extend the transition period. They will try and get this agreement done. The only problem is it might take a lot longer than 11 months or even less time than that to sort out a proper comprehensive deal. And that's where the trouble may start. That's where the problems may arise in the new year if there is no deal. But for today, for Brexit Day, I think the people who are backing Brexit, it's a day of celebration. They're here. There'll be a party on Parliament Square later this evening. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will make his announcement and talk, which will be televised on Facebook, as I understand it, at 10 o'clock in the evening, 1 hour before the official leaving time that Britain will, after 3.5 years, finally leave the EU.
Okay, Iolo Dafydd in London. Thank you so much for that update.